after the ruling by the Supreme Court in British Columbia, ruling that there's Aboriginal title over vast tracts of land already owned by other people for generations and generations, it's coming to other places. When you know it, First Nation files lawsuit demanding Aboriginal title over lands in Western Canada, or sorry, Western Quebec. Thank goodness, not Western Canada. And Algonquin First Nation has filed a title claim in Quebec Superior Court over large swaths of territory across the west of the province in an effort to address what it described as historic injustices against its people. Jean-Guy White Duck, chief of the Kitigan Zibi Anishinabeg First Nation, says his people have a say in the way water, wildlife, and forestry are managed in their traditional territory. Says who? He said that meaningful reconciliation can't exist until that happens. This is what he says. Quebec refuses to recognize that Aboriginal people, traditional people, have any rights outside of reserve territory, except for basically subsistence hunting and fishing. White Duck said in an interview speaking from the First Nation located on the shores of the Gatineau near Maniwaki. When we talk about title and land ownership and having a say in the management of resources, there is no say. And the claim covers 8 areas, including islands in the Ottawa River, Gatineau Park, and adjoining lands in the city of Gatineau, 2 harvesting zones in the Gatineau Regional County, Papineau-Labelle Wildlife Preserve, as well as the Basketong Reservoir and other nearby areas flooded during the construction of the Mercier Hydroelectric Dam in 1927. 8,000 square kilometers of land. This is a huge problem. And why do you get a say over what I do on my own lawfully owned land at this point? Why do you get a say? You have your reserves, which you are responsible for, and other people have their property that they are responsible for. Why do you get a say over what other people do with your land? Like, when my family came to Alberta, we owned a heck of a lot more land than we have now, but be through marriages and families and, so the original several sections of land gets all chopped up. I don't have a say over what happens to that land now, even though 5 generations on this property means that those might be considered my ancestral lands. But I not in no sane world would I think that I have the ability to tell the people in the acreage development up the road what they should get to do. When does this stop?
That's exactly where I was going. Where do you draw the line? Because the very next, or maybe it's 2 sentences after where you stopped, the First Nation says this area covered by the legal action represents only a fraction of its actual ancestral territory. And they say that they are owed essentially billions of dollars that have been taken from their lands with limited return to their community. So he's referring to some of the dams that were built and that they were never compensated for that. And this is a $5 billion lawsuit, and it apparently only covers a fraction of their supposed territory. I mean, that leads me to question, well, where do you draw the line on this?
Well, and this isn't done. Like,
no.
If we scroll down, since 2016, and again, I'm not sure we should fight this one. The band also has a title claim over lands in Ontario, one that covers Parliament Hill, Le Breton Flats, as well as Chaudière, Albert, and Victoria Islands. That legal challenge targets Canada and the National Capital Commission, but not the province of Ontario, because most of that stuff is under the purview of the National Capital Commission, which is the government agency that deals with federally owned spaces. That case is winding through the courts. This Ontario Superior Court is expected to hear that case in 2028 after they've unsuccessfully attempted to settle it out of court. Those, I think they should have those. You want Ottawa? Take it. It's yours. It's not my problem no more.
Take Parliament Hill.
Take it all. But yeah, like at what point do your legally signed agreements, as is the case in ceded territories covered under treaty, why on the point of the treaty is to end your claim to other places, and now somebody else owns that land, and you don't get to tell other people what they do on their land. Like that'll be the damn day that somebody comes up to me and says, "This, that, you know, I think this is my traditional land, and therefore I don't want you farming it anymore." No,
Do
this is my traditional land.
Well, and do I get my property taxes back then if I don't,
Right.
if we never owned the land
What am I paying
and
for?
we, yeah. Do I get those taxes back? Is someone going to purchase back the land from me that I purchased? Like, how does this all actually work? And I think that's why that ruling in British Columbia that came down recently has kind of paved the way for more of this and gave it
Yeah.
merit and justification. However, that ruling, a lot of people don't realize, has been essentially paused for 18 months while they figure out the logistics of it all, because no one is really sure how this actually looks outside of on paper.
Right.
What does this actually mean? How do private property owners, like, what does that mean for them? And what does this mean moving forward? The judge almost like made this ruling and then skirted the
Right. And then
repercussions of
just
the
was like,
ruling.
here.
Yeah, and was like, figure it
You figured
out.
out.
You
Yeah.
have 18 months and hopefully that's enough time. Wish you
And
well.
and also this is the problem with land acknowledgements. Because
Mhm.
in the land acknowledgements, they say, we recognize that this is the traditional lands of the blah, 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 fill in wherever you are, what treaty you're on, 6 or 7 or whatever. Because this band in Quebec, and I guess potentially Ontario too, is saying, well, yeah, thanks. You said this was our traditional lands, so we want them.
Yeah. If land acknowledgements, for me, I say, well, if we don't own the land, then give it back. And if we're not going to give it back, then why are we acknowledging any of this?